February 2003. As an event for young designers to network and show their work in public, it has become a global celebration, featuring a special presentation format, 20 images each for 20 seconds, moving on while you speak alone. Do not sign for more and from gatherings, rendezvous for creatives or the city. Everyone can present whatever the age, no matter children, teenager or adult, presenting something that you like. Ideas what talks about anything, 1,000+ cities around the world. Together let's say 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha, 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha, 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha, 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha,
PechaKucha, événement mais surtout format de présentation orale en 20 images qui se succèdent automatiquement chaque 20 secondes.
PechaKucha is een avond vol verrassingen, waar mensen de tijd nemen om weer eens echt naar elkaar te luisteren.
Hey, PechaKucha is like make in Turkish.
Named after the onomatopoeic Japanese phrase for the sound of talking, this is PechaKucha. Thank you Artie Dema for this concert for short and concert presentations lively like cha-cha-cha. Always swung in a place, eating and drinking space. Bar, resto, gallery, home beach or swimming pool. Sharing a relaxed way, put your hands in the air. You feel the spirit. 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha, 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha, 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha, 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha,
PechaKucha es un evento y formato de presentación oral con 20 imágenes que pasan una a una a cada 20 segundos.
We are PechaKucha, all over the world, a real network. We are PechaKucha, with wonderful stories at the big nights.
PechaKuchaストーリーテリングのフォーマット。20秒のスライドを1枚あたり20秒使ってプレゼンテーションを行います。
PechaKucha ist für uns allen eine fantastische, eine großartige Bereicherung unseres ganzen kulturellen Lebens.
Devised in Tokyo in February 2003 as an event for young designers to network and show their work in public. It has become a global celebration, featuring a special presentation format, 20 images each for 20 seconds, moving on while you speak alone. Do not sign for more and from gatherings, rendezvous for creatives or the city. Everyone can present whatever the age, no matter children, teenager or adult, presenting something that you like. Ideas what talks about anything, 1,000+ cities around the world. Together let's say 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha, 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha, 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha, 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha,
PechaKucha, événement mais surtout format de présentation orale en 20 images qui se succèdent automatiquement chaque 20 secondes.
PechaKucha is een avond vol verrassingen, waar mensen de tijd nemen om weer eens echt naar elkaar te luisteren.
Hey, PechaKucha is like make in Turkish.
Named after the onomatopoeic Japanese phrase for the sound of talking, this is PechaKucha. Thank you Artie Dema for this concert for short and concert presentations lively like cha-cha-cha. Always swung in a place, eating and drinking space. Bar, resto, gallery, home beach or swimming pool. Sharing a relaxed way, put your hands in the air. You feel the spirit. 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha, 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha, 20 by 20. PechaKucha, PechaKucha, 20 by 20. party. PechaKucha,
PechaKucha es un evento y formato de presentación oral con 20 imágenes que pasan una a una a cada 20 segundos.
We are PechaKucha, all over the world, a real network. We are PechaKucha, with wonderful stories at the big nights.
めちゃくちゃストーリーテリングのフォーマット。20秒のスライドを1枚あたり20秒使ってプレゼンテーションを行います。
PechaKucha ist für uns allen eine fantastische, eine großartige Bereicherung unseres ganzen kulturellen Lebens.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to PechaKucha Night, our session. This is our second volume. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Scott Peterson, broadcasting here from my home in Tokyo. I got the kids doing homework. It's 8:30 in the evening for us. Just 10 minutes after 2020. We usually start these things at 2020. I should start by thanking my family for being extra specially quiet and helpful, and it's only going to be about 1 hour, so thanks everybody for being on their best behavior. Great, so off we go. Let's start this. Can everybody hear me okay? I hope so. Looks like everything's good. I think we're okay. Let's see, we'll go ahead and change the slide. So this is our session on tactile photography. I'm a photographer, so we've been talking about this idea of a different kind of PechaKucha night or PechaKucha experience, and where we might lock in on things that we care deeply about. And so I'm gonna first, before I get into that, I'm gonna tell you where this whole PechaKucha thing started. PechaKucha is the sound of chit chat in Japanese. It started in Japan in 2003. As a format where people present 20 slides that auto advance every 20 seconds to keep presentations short and concise. It was started by two architects in Japan. Hey, Tat's here. Okay, hi everybody. And by Mark Dytham and Astrid Klein here in Tokyo, who run Klein Dytham Architecture, as a way to share creative projects that might not otherwise see the light of day, to find, discover, and spotlight hidden heroes in our communities. And we were having about 100, PechaKucha Night is in it's spread from Tokyo to an amazing 1,245 cities. And when this pandemic started back in February, we had an amazing PechaKucha International Day on February 20th, which was pretty much the last PechaKucha Night of the year in normal sort of times. And what emerged not that long after was this concept under our Inspire banner. We've started this project Inspire Japan when Japan needed a helping hand during the tsunami. We did Inspire Nepal, Inspire Christchurch when they had their moments. I mean, these are cities that our PechaKucha is vibrant in. And soon enough, everybody was coming online, and we've co-hosted over 100 of these PechaKucha Inspire events that have been talking about how people are creatively coping in the time of COVID. And probably like you, we've all been a little bit zoomed out. We're on Zoom calls all day, every day. And the novelty hasn't exactly worn off, but it's so great to connect. But one of the very interesting parts about this Inspire project is that whereas PechaKucha Night usually is focused on our immediate local community, this online experience gave us the opportunity to connect with anybody all over the world. We could invite or be invited to PechaKucha Night anywhere in the world online. So it opened up a door of possibilities, and we quickly pivoted to this online experience. But we quickly found that maybe 2-hour night is great when you go to an event, you have a set break and a beer, but for online it's a bit longer. It goes a bit long. So we've tried to sort of distill down the experience, and instead of just having various creative people from our local communities or even global community, we've locked in on specific topics, interest-focused events that that can be about the topics that we care about most. Last week on September 9th, we kicked this series off with Invisible Vernacular. Mark Dytham hosted, and Mark and Astrid hosted this great session with Frank Lloyd Wrong in Melbourne and Catherine Shaw in Hong Kong. Those presentations are online. I encourage you to go check them out. It was a really fun night. So we're off to our second event tonight on September 16th. And I've invited three of my very, very dear friends, John Sypal, Caty Smith, Jesse Freeman, and I want to go ahead and invite them on the stage. Guys, go ahead and unmute yourself and start your videos. And why don't you come on and say hi to everybody? Hello. So I want to give a special thanks to, I got John Sypal. I think everybody's name's on their thing. I got John up in my upper left-hand corner. I got Jesse in the bottom left-hand corner and Caty over here on the bottom right. And I want to give a special shout out to Jesse and Caty because it's 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning or something like that where they are. Jesse's tuning in from a non-discrete bunker in the middle of nowhere. And Caty is tuning in from, no, did I get that wrong?
No, I'm sorry.
And Jesse's, or sorry, Caty's from my hometown. And we're a bunch of Midwesterners who all kind of have a tenuous connection to Tokyo, which is kind of interesting. So I'm very happy to keep it all in the family. How are you guys doing this morning? Are you doing okay, Caty? Did you had a shower? It looks like, yeah?
Got my coffee, washed my bangs, I'm ready to go.
Jesse's rocking a fat, new, very nice mustache. I love it. It's looking really good. And John is on Tokyo time. It's a school night, so we're not going to keep him too long.
That's all right, yeah. 8:30 bedtime. Sorry.
Thanks for being here, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella. We'll get you home before you turn into a pumpkin. Don't worry. Right. But I'm going to go ahead and give these guys. They're all very, very talented people, and it's an amazing opportunity for us to have all of them curated here together. I've had a bunch of people reach out to me and say like, oh my God, you guys, this is going to be a fun night. I can't wait to tune in. So I think there's like 30 odd of us, 40 of us here on the Zoom. So I'm really stoked. I think 40 is just like, it's a perfect, like intimate number where we can engage with you guys and you guys can engage with us. And I'm going to go ahead and before we get going, I'm just going to I've written out our let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and type everybody's homepage here, everybody's homepage there. So you guys can tap into them there. And I'm going to give them a full introduction when it's their turn to present. So they've got so many accolades and I've got so many great things to say about them, but I'm going to save it for right before you guys come on do a presentation. Do you guys have any comments to get going? Or should we get right into it? What do you have to say, John? Come on, give us a.
I'm sorry,
wish us luck at least.
Got the cat laser just in case my cat starts barking.
Oh, Margot, we might have Margot on the call.
If I can get it within headphone length, I'll bring her on the screen. Right? No, she just looked away. Okay.
Oh, and Jesse, do you have any furry friends around there?
Yeah, a dog right here.
What's your dog's name?
Oh,
it's Star.
Star. Okay, Star. Okay.
Mom's dog.
All right, good.
I don't have any.
All right, Caty,
it's on my list. It's on my list.
Okay, don't worry. All right, guys. Well, I'll sign off. You guys can leave your videos on, but just go ahead and mute yourselves.
Okay.
And go ahead and mute yourself, and we'll come back and I'll get you guys here before we present. But also I want to give everybody a chance to go ahead and follow John on Tokyo Camera Style. John's got a couple of Instagram feeds, I think, but Tokyo Camera Style is not what he's going to be presenting about tonight, but he's got a lot of followers over on Tokyo Camera Style. I love this idea. It's a great, really cool project. I highly recommend following Tokyo Camera Style and all of John's other stuff. I'll be posting some more links to everybody's stuff here as the night goes on. Caty in Tulsa, thank you for being here, Caty. She's at I Am Caty. Please follow her on Instagram. She's got beautiful Polaroid stuff that she's going to be presenting about tonight. Very ephemeral, beautiful fine art works that I can't wait for her to share. And Jesse is from Baltimore, and we've got him at Jesse Elf Freeman. Okay, I got that right. And Jesse is his stream is very interesting. Jesse's a multimedia man of many talents, a Renaissance man. He's got his fingers are in so many cookie jars, or however you say that. But his stream is also very interesting. You'll get a lot of different stuff. And I'm Brian at Scott Peterson. I've explained before why I have to use Scott, because if your name is Brian Peterson, you're predisposed to become a photographer for some reason. There's like 18 of us that are all Brian Peterson. So there you go. So please follow us, and here we go. All right. Oh my goodness. It's about my turn, isn't it? Okay. Deep breath, Brian. All right, I've written it out as a little cheat sheet, but I think you're not technically not, but it should be okay. All right, here we go. Okay, so for the last 10 years, I haven't been so much taking photographs as much as I've been giving photographs. I'm guessing that a lot of you know about this photo giving project that me and my pal Yuko started in response to the earthquake and tsunami here in Tokyo called photohoku. It's a portmanteau of the words photo and tohoku. Basically, we got this bottomless pit of instant peel apart film from the film gods at Fuji, thank you Fuji, which allowed us to go to the devastated region and make photos for the people who lost everything. And because the peel apart film takes a few minutes to develop, it's time that we get to spend with the recipients, chatting them up and hearing their stories. So we talked to them in English. We put on a little performance with the camera. The kids count to 10, and sometimes it gets really emotional. And by the time you've had a few moments with them, you've kind of actually forgotten about the photo, and then comes this big reveal, and it's almost like a magic trick. So once I came, oh, I'm missing a slide here, but you have these really special moments where the thing becomes, the actual photo is so beautiful, and it becomes more than just a photograph, more than a digital photograph that you see on your phone. It's tactile, it has smell, it's toxic, it's intoxicating, and it's really special. So once I came across this really huge family, there was like another 15 people inside the house, and it quickly became this performance. I did one of the sisters, the one with the brothers, the dogs, the cat, this crew, that crew. I was totally on fire, and I must have made like 40 really lovely images. And I looked at them one last time and turned around and walked away. And it was just like an amazing hit of inspiration. And it was this amazing feeling to be able to use the camera so that it was so second nature to me, and an incredible gift that I could have to make this and give these photos without really needing to be connected to them. But as we walked away, my friend said, like, where did all that energy come from? That was insane. And actually, I don't really know, but when you make a portrait of somebody, it can get really intense, and you can lose yourself, and you can even exhaust your energy. And it's beautiful, but it can leave you empty. So after a few years of making photos this way, I felt like I had put in 10,000 hours, and people would say the nicest things to me, like, this is the nicest photo that's ever been made of me. I'm going to use this for my death photo, which I took to mean like, this is how I want to be remembered, like my EA photo. And it was really powerful stuff. And I felt like the best pictures I'd ever made. And I'm sure it was because I was sharing this time with each person, and it was that sharing of time and the trust and the performance that came along with it, and the big fantastic camera. But the only problem was that there was left with no record of it, which is really romantic, but it's also a little bit tragic that these photos only existed for me as fleeting memories. So I decided to start this new portrait series of my friends and artists who I admire, using the same techniques from Photohoku, but I'd keep the original and I'd publish it with a few words. So that's what you're looking at in these last few images. Friends who I've had a coffee or a tea with and a conversation, and then we make a photo. I have a friend in New York City who makes poems for passersby, and he says the way to make a poem for a complete stranger is a matter of diffusing tension with quick humor and conversation and just being personable, and I totally agree with that. Sometimes you make a photo and you forget to peel it apart, and by the time you remember to peel it apart, it's time to go, and sometimes it's too light or sometimes it's too dark. but then it kind of grows on you because it was never kind of about the photo in the first place. It was more about the moment. And sometimes I have an idea for a portrait, and sometimes the idea just presents itself. I'll make a few shots with the person, and that gives an opportunity to collaborate. And usually I'll take the pick of the litter, and then I'll offer them the other shots. And collaborating has become like a really cool part of it. It's a little bit nerve-wracking when you're photographing other photographers, but it's also really rewarding. And if they're technically knowledgeable about this stuff, you can give the camera over to them, and they can turn it on you and have that experience, and you can share and learn from each other. So I'm going for something simple and something distilled and something that removes everything except the essence of the person. And sometimes I think that they're like book jacket portraits. And this is my friend Caty, this is when she was visiting me in Tokyo, and Nobe Okucho. Get ready, Caty, you're next. And here are my pals, John and Jesse, who are gonna be present tonight, who I just absolutely adore, and who are so talented and so smart, and who make this city and this very healthy photography community here so special. So here is a quote from Deanne Airbus. For me, the subject of the picture is always more important than the picture. And here's one from me. For me, I usually tend to agree with Diane Airbus. It's always the journey and never really the destination. So tactile photography. So many photos, so much photo love. Print your photos, get them off of your phone. You can keep them in a shoebox, thumb through them from time to time. Then you can, take them out and relive those great memories. You can put them in a frame, put a frame on the wall. And speaking of frames, next slide. Last year, I started a new portrait project where I'm just making one photo. That's it. From the very, very big camera on glorious 8x10 film, no mistakes, no fluff, just one good shot. And I've gotten pretty good at it, so don't worry, I can do it. Then we put that photo right where it belongs, in a frame for you to take home and hang on your wall and admire. Please check out the website and let's make a photo together. Thank you so much for listening. Oh, I did it. Thank you for joining tonight. We still have a lot ahead. Caty, Jesse, John, thank you so much for agreeing to present. And I did it. Woo! Woo!
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Some of those slides were hilarious. I love them.
I think I had cotton mouth. I swear I didn't do anything illicit before this, but I've only practiced. I'd only practiced once, but thanks for letting me have my cheat sheet with me here. Oh, I'm so glad that's out of the way. I do not envy you guys. I hope you're
Thank you for the build-up.
I hope you're not nervous. You're gonna be fine. I've seen all the slides. They look fantastic. Yeah, are we ready? Are we feeling the 2020? You're okay, Jesse? We got the drift here, John?
Yep.
Okay.
You had me at that unlimited bottomless supply of peel apart film.
I know, man. I have been so blessed by the film gods. I don't know what I did in life to deserve this, but I have more film than I have days left to shoot. And speaking of which, maybe someday in the not so distant future, we'll talk about a project that shares in the love of sharing film. So anyway, another conversation. Okay, Caty, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you. John and Jesse, you guys can mute yourself. I'm going to mute myself. And Caty, when you're, hold on, let's see here. What am I doing? Okay, share this guy. Are we good here? Hold on a second. We're good.
Need my deep breath here. Okay.
All right, Caty. Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm going to give you a little intro.
Oh.
All right, Caty. Am I still on here? Hold on.
Yeah, you are.
Okay. Caty is my very dear friend from Tulsa. She's a photographer. She's a designer. She's an artist. She's a curator. She's probably more things that I haven't mentioned. She's a bit of a nomad. I know, and she's a bit of a cowgirl. I think you're a little bit of a. I have this image of her as on the dusty dusty Texas plain in her cowboy boots, and I know she's got a couple of hey guys, if you don't mind, we have what we share in common is she has a love for the transience that comes along with Polaroid photos. So I'm really excited for that, to hear about that. She's been on assignment with National Geographic to Myanmar, places like Myanmar, Mongolia, Japan, where else, Caty? Iceland. I think some of the photos tonight are from Iceland. I won't give it away. But I want to give a very warm welcome to my Wanderlust friend, Caty Smith. Caty, you're a gem, and also a big helper of the Photo Oklahoma project. So,
Yeah.
Caty, you're a superstar. I love you so much. I'm so glad you're here tonight. And
Thanks.
I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you. You just tell me when to start.
Let me clarify one more thing before we start. I was not on assignment with Geographic for those. I just worked for them in the studio. But
it's okay. All right.
But I just don't want anyone to think.
A good a very honest photojournalist.
I'd love to leave it like that. But okay.
All right. Well, let me apologize for that. Then that's just I like to embed. I like.
No, I want to be that, so it's fine. Okay.
All right.
Now I'm ready. Let's do this. Okay, so Polaroids also hold a special place in my heart. Just like Brian, I was actually introduced to Polaroid photography when I worked at my after-school job in high school at a locally owned photo store here, and was gifted this beautiful 1972 piece of equipment by a coworker, which then piqued my interest and had me enroll in like this really short photo class that we had at my high school. And I was introduced to the physicality of photography, specifically with the transfer process for Polaroids. So this was my very first one, a 19-year-old Polaroid transfer. And then that led me to purchase this 1980s, 90s Daylab, which enlarges your 35 millimeter slide onto and then projects onto Polaroid film. So I could actually have a bit more control with the imagery and not rely on the camera, but on the unpredictability of the actual film. So I brought that with me to college and played around as I pursued my degree in photojournalism in a pretty intense degree program. So this led me to go to the art school, and I took some classes, and I continued playing around with that transfer process, but like never quite got as good as that like old very first one that I had. So I ran on this bridge a lot in college, and then I decided like that this bridge needed to have a different feeling, and I used that same technology with the Polaroid image, but used it as an emulsion lift. So that peel apart film is actually a paper back. You soak it in hot water, and the back comes off or separates from that emulsion layer, which is like a gelatin chemical that forms the image. And then you have a substrate, which here is watercolor paper, but I started to really love working with canvas. And so it was more malleable, it was more forgiving, it had more texture. And so any of my side projects in the studio at university, I would kind of like take those fun fashion projects for friends and try my hand at these emulsions again. And it was really like a place of solace for me. So moving forward to my first job in DC, I then moved to London and worked in a university darkroom and was introduced to cyanotypes. So another chemical process using UV light, but I could take my digital images, create a negative, and cover the paper with this chemical and then use the UV light. So there was less technical equipment needed, which I really was excited about. And I felt like I was kind of stepping into my first experience of experiencing, what I saw in a more tactile way. And as I lived in Europe and traveled, I would shoot, I think we all have these in our camera roll, those like boring, mundane landscape images. And this was just, I think, off a bus in France. And I really liked taking that the viewer and photographer veil down and having the viewer actually experience the layered elements to to a landscape they might not have experienced, but almost do feel like they're experiencing, having a dreamlike, ethereal feeling. And when I got back to the States, I was pushed by a dear friend of mine to put these in frames and kind of venture into the fine art world, which I had never thought to do, but was actually very fun to create a show, exhibit, and curate these pieces and see the interactions between the audience and these works. So this was continued even into a project I did, a personal project I did in Mongolia. And I brought back a number of digital images and portraiture and things that were publishable, but in reality, I mostly was drawn to creating these delicate landscapes, and even pursued a collaboration with a good friend of mine who's an abstract artist, who could then really like continue to push that one of a kind piece of photography that I kept looking for, by painting on my work and using his own voice on top of my perspective. And getting, I guess, further into the fine art world, I had just gone on a trip to Iceland, and I created this body of work that I really wanted to play with not only the climate discussion, but also this tactile, delicate kind of feeling, and then trying to really understand how unique this process is. So, you know, going at this particular image a number of times, trying to attain a kind of feeling with it, and not quite getting it until you know, this final piece. But you can see that I have, you know, number of those that aren't even the same, which is kind of amazing and kind of fun in that photography medium in general. So yeah, I feel like these alternative processes are really a way that we can kind of engage with the landscape in a different way. And actually at that same show, this Iceland show, I pursued a new format, which was gun by chromate, which I was told I could control a lot more, which I could not. And I feel like this was a huge fail. But it was fun to experiment on scale and on different mediums. So I actually blew this up to kind of play with that shift in texture onto a linen backing, an upholstery linen actually. So that's almost a 4.5 foot piece. So not quite there yet, still working on this kind of like process, but I'm excited to continue and mess around with that. So in the same realm as Brian, I would say no matter what process you're using, do print your photos. This is just a tray at my house that I've been sticking in cards that I send to people over the pandemic, and sticking on my sourdough bread that I, you know, bake and hand to a neighbor. And it's just fun to hand memories and tangibly hold those moments. So, okay, thank you.
Woohoo, Caty! That was so nice. That was.
Did I breathe the whole time? I don't think I did.
I don't know. You get lost in yourself. I know. Oh my God, that was so
okay.
beautiful. I'm so touched by how beautiful that was. Oh my gosh, I have a million questions for you. The fact that you've scaled up this process is very interesting. Very interesting.
Attempted to scale.
And the other one, yeah, I kind of want to save it for a little roundtable discussion we'll have at the end. Speaking of which, please, if you have any questions for any of our presenters tonight or for each other, please add them in the chat room, and we'll get to them in the discussion afterwards. So please, by all means, ask Caty about her alternative processes and how you can get one. Yeah, really, I want to get one too. I think I need one of these for my wall. I have a nice collection of my my friend's art, but I don't think I have any of yours.
You don't. I need to do some Tokyo or some Japan stuff.
Would you send me one of those postcards, please?
Yeah, happily would.
Yeah, I think you also need to meet my friend Aaron Moran, who made this shirt that I'm wearing. He's an avid sender of. I know I want to lead with love. Love this shirt by my compulsive artist friend Aaron Moran, who is also a cyanotype junkie and an alternative process guy, and who also sends things around. You know, he's like the artist Unabomber. I'm not sure I should say that, but That's what he's like. So I'll introduce you guys after this talk. Thanks, Caty. That was amazing.
Thanks. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. Let's keep the conversation going after we all present here. So next up, Jesse Freeman, the one and only, from Baltimore, Omaha, Tokyo, Shibuya. He's kind of from all over the place. Guys, let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and mute you guys. And let's see here. Jesse is hard to articulate. He's I don't know which he considers himself first, but I think I learned this new word last night, artur. I'm saying it right, artur. I don't really know this word before, artur. And an artur is somebody who, I don't want to take his steam away, but it's somebody who thinks, writes and directs and makes films as an author might. And so I think Jesse's his multi-interests that spans literature, filmmaking, photography, and music and collage and probably so much more. What else can I say about Jesse? He's a voracious reader, intimidatingly so. He's got, his Instagram feed is really fantastic. He's got I think every other picture is like a fat novel. And it's both the classics and a bunch of weird ones. And so he's one of the most heady and deeply pensive people I know. And he's also a licensed Ikebana artist from the Sogetsu School of Ikebana. And I've had the great privilege to collaborate on one project with Jesse with and he has a dog and jazz and music and so much more. But Jesse, I'm going to hand it over to you. I want to hear about what you're going to talk about in your presentation, book reviews, and on and on and on and on. So thanks for being here, Jesse. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, sounds good. Ready? Okay. All right. So on Tactile Photography, I recently just went to an exhibition. Waiting for my first slide. There we go. All right, All right. So recently we went to a photo exhibition where the introduction was interesting because it pointed out the fact that it is estimated that over 1.5 trillion images will be made this year, the majority of which on smartphones, and most will only exist on a chip or HD, or a hard drive. And so, yeah, the slide's already going really fast. but at its best, it does connect us in ways that we've never been connected. But also what we miss. Wow, it's really going fast now. Like it didn't start initially. Yeah. So going with that, it is a direct opposite to the traditional scene of a gallery show, if you will. And then so where I like with gallery shows that there's that idea of being confronted with an object. And so that's kind of interesting that is lost. I think an Instagram stream where you saw before, like that, I lost that first 10 seconds, where you are constantly competing with advertisements. You're competing with all different types of information, where what you contribute as a form of photography has now just become information itself, where this probably wasn't, in retrospect, probably more provocative than I thought. But this is what our images have to create with. And platforms where this is pretty much the only outlet for photography now, which really isn't conducive of what we're trying to do. But so this image, for example, like I did have a show where I tried to show what an image is, and this is an example of a darkroom print of John actually tore it apart, then reshot the image. And it's kind of like, I wanted to emphasize what a printed image is. And so this is another example. This is just two pictures, and I printed enough and I couldn't get the tones right. And then I realized when I arranged them, it became something entirely different that I wouldn't have realized sort of if it wasn't in a tactile manner, which was kind of an interesting sort of happy accident that you wouldn't have otherwise. And continuing the idea of happy accidents, this is an example of another image. It was something sensual that happened in the film. it added to the image, and it was just something that can't be faked. That I think has an honesty to it that we all just kind of accept. This is another example where Katie before was talking about mundane sort of landscape images, and in these images I tried to use my cousin's dev kit that was horribly like broken, and then so a lot of the negatives were damaged, but then I kind of accepted that. And then here's another example of a good transition from the things, but this is a postcard from John that I received, and I really liked it because he always sends postcards for it. You get it, it's warm, but also it's how you use it. And then I found this was on my wall for a while, and then it became a bookmark, and then you kind of lose yourself in the images in a way that you can't lose yourself on a screen because it lacks that touch, that feel. Where like with the postcard, I love that I would read a book. Whenever I stopped to think, I would just look at his images because I was confronted with that warm object that you just don't get in this sort of screen, you know? And that also does relate to books as well, where books are kind of different from an exhibition, but definitely there's still that feel where you control it, you create your own atmosphere. Like you play a certain song to it, you drink something to it, and you interact with the physical object. That it's really special again. And then this is a playful idea where I printed this and then like threw it up, and it's like going back to Mama Greed. It's like, oh, it's an orange, but it's not an orange. It's a print of an orange. But what is an orange in black and white? Which was like a fun little play on what tactile photography can be. Because once it becomes tactile, it is changed by what comes before it and after it. You know, it's modified, and that goes more back to the books, but yeah, it's really just a different way to connect photography with the user in a way that they do it. And then the other thing with tactile photography is we tend to lose images, and I know in talking to John, we talk about ex-girlfriends, and then we delete the images because it's so easy and you delete them. And then luckily, when you have the negative backups, this was an instant where I needed a fashion example, and then I was able to just, because I emotionally reacted and deleted the digital copy, I still had the negative and could rescan. And this is another example of a friend who passed away. This was his image, and we had shared images, but the quality wasn't up to par. And luckily, his mom sent me his film negatives, and then because I had that, I was able to reproduce his images, and his images still live on beyond him, which wouldn't have happened if it weren't tactile objects. This is another example of a photo of my grandfather, and the image will outlast. And I think the concrete image is something I could show my future generations, and you can kind of see that. And then there's just an overall warmth, I think, to these images that like, again, I could share. This is his home, and I could share it to future to my kids and their kids, and then tell stories about them. But when you're confronted with that object, it's special. And it reminds me most, I guess I always use this quote a lot, but it reminds me of jazz on vinyl. Like it's just a warmth. Well, when you first put on that record and hear that crackle, that tactile feel to it, that I think photography needs, you know, that it just feels really good. And just, I guess, statistically, you're just more likely to have these images stay with you. And it's just important that we are able to maintain our images, because they may outlive us and then inform future generations of what we're trying to do and what we achieved and what we fought for and what we believed in. And I really believe that tactile holds that, you know, so.
Wow, amazing, dude. That was
Nice job.
very
Awesome.
lovely. That was very touching. Oh my God.
Yeah, the first slide, it didn't start, and it was like orange, and then all of a sudden started. So I
think it started on mine. I don't know. It started on mine. Did it start on everybody else's? We can do it over. I didn't know if I could stop it or keep going. I just was like, what should I do? What should I do? Should I stop it? I technically am not. Maybe it's. Sorry, Jesse. It was great though.
It was still really good.
It was really, it was fucking amazing. It was really great, man. I mean, you hit on so many things. I want to like get to the thing, but a quick one. in preparing this that story about how the photos live on with the guy's negatives, that's so touching. It's amazing.
Yeah, because it was one of those, we didn't have his passwords and his usernames, and Tumblr deleted all of his work, and then it was just like, well, you know, he lived through his images, and his mom was like, well, I have all these films, and it was all categorized well, and I got it all rescanned it, and it will forever live on just because it was taken in a tactile form, you know.
And how cool that you can like experience someone else. John, I read something recently that you also printed somebody else's work. Or you're doing that sometimes?
That'll branch in. Jesse's thing goes into what I'm going to talk about really nice in terms of living on. So yeah.
Well, I won't dive in. But there's one more thing, Jesse. Remind me when we get out of this, I want to talk about ex-girlfriends. There's one quick photo I want to talk about. But that was a really lovely presentation.
That was John too. John was the one like, don't destroy the negatives, whatever you do, because you're going to regret it. And I was like, he's right.
I have one of those stories.
I threw all mine away. That's another topic for a different night. But yeah,
okay. I don't think that's a topic for a night, John. That's a night out of beers and drinks. I think that's
cool for me. Sure.
Although,
awesome.
Okay. All right, guys. Let's welcome our last presenter, John Sypal. Oh my God, John's accolades go on for a long way. I'm gonna let's see. John and I came to Japan roughly the same time. He's been coming here, I think, since '99. I read, and you came once for a year of study in 2001, and then I came in 2004. And John and I have both been in the city since 2004, and I've seen John's photos over the years. And there's one particular series that I'm always loving of his. But it's quite comedic. It's quite funny. I find John's his photos, he really can, you know, it's putting them into words is so hard, and I don't think John can do it any better than I can. But I've been a fan ever since I saw this hilarious photo series where you're just like, oh, I get it. Oh, it's okay. Okay. And now every time I see John's photos, I have to look at them, and then I get them. John has exhibited. He's exhibited over 30 solo shows and God knows how many group shows. He visits 100 shows a year. I heard a ridiculous statistic that maybe he's going to talk about in his presentation about how many shows there are in Tokyo in one year. John taught me about the word amateur. John gave me a new appreciation for this word amateur and what amateur really means. He kind of shifted my perspective on that and on a lot of things. John is a member of the Totem Pole Gallery. He runs a blog called Tokyo Camera Style, as I mentioned earlier. Both of those are Tokyo institutions. I highly recommend anybody who's visiting Tokyo or new to Tokyo or want to get tapped into the vibrant photography scene we have here, set up Totem Pole as a regular place to visit. There's always amazing shows there. I think there's 11 or 12 artists there. I'll go ahead and add the Totem Pole links in the bio.
Sure, be nice.
And John, I love seeing you in the street, and we always bump into each other every few months, and I love seeing you here online. Thank you so much for being here. And I know everybody's really excited to hear from you, so let's hand over the mic to you, and I'll shut up.
I didn't rehearse like everyone else did, so this is going to be kind of weird. Brian asked me to talk about tactile photography, and I've got boxes of prints and swamped with stuff, but I thought I'd talk about something that really interests me in terms of photography, which is found snapshots. When I say found, usually I mean bought, but also I have picked stuff up off the street. So look at that.
John does so many projects. He could, we were talking before the evening started, and like tonight is going to talk about found photos, or is that what you just called them? Found photos?
Found photos, snapshots. And so then, the box is labeled, so.
Found photos. The next one's going to be about re-photography. The next one's going to be about co-photography.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of interesting projects. John's a wealth of knowledge and experience and passion, and we're very fortunate to have him. And so, John, I'm going to hand it over to you, and off you go. Yeah?
Okay. All right, let's see. Yeah, I just made this last night, so see how it goes.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
All right. So, yeah, found photographs, in particular amateur snapshots, which you find, and if you're over a certain age, you have this. This is a box of what I collect. These are all found from antique shops. The one I'll talk about later is another friend of mine who collects these and has boxes of them for sale when he exhibits them. Basically, what I really like is that it is tactile photos, and tying in with Jesse, it ties in with things outlive them. Most of these people are probably passed away, but I mean, you look at this picture of this, probably a honeymoon, you can gather through the context of him showing her hand with the ring, the outfits from the onsen or wherever they're visiting, the hotel. There's these kind of these moments which are very, very interesting to me in terms of they repeat throughout different people's lives. When you look through boxes of them, you see people getting married or in cars. Some like this one are fantastic photographs in their own. You could put Domon Ken or Kimurehe at the bottom and people wouldn't probably know the difference. If so, I could sell it for a lot more than I paid for it. But what I do is I like to find these kind of just, they make me stop and not just think about like, life or stuff, but there's a really interesting eye. And what I like the most about them is that there are kind of two types. One's a reaction to something happening or a moment being made like this. This is an example of this. I like getting really detailed and figuring out where they are. This is Hibiya Park. And it's interesting to think not just of kind of a sappy sentimental, like, oh, it's the father took a picture of his daughter, but there's something kind of universal in the particular individuality of them. Also, you can see how these two go so fast, I always forget. Again, another moment, it's a shared moment. You can see, if you look behind her in the mirror, you can see her husband. I'm assuming it's her wedding day. You've got the bouquet and the veil. I mean, this is a completely beautiful photograph, no matter what standard or whatever you look at. And it is kind of bittersweet that it's just one. This was a slide I was going to talk about how photography isn't a technical thing and sharpness isn't all that, but I only have 20 seconds per slide. But as you can see, these photos probably meant way more to someone than whether the autofocus caught the eye or not. I love the frayed edges. Something was important there. Also talked about Instagram too, in terms of how things are competing. This shot's great. I have a whole series of her through her life. Hi, Margot, you're meowing, I'm talking, but it's okay. This is just an awesome picture and I fell in love with her instantly. Just the kind of pose and the kind of understanding that you've got the moment between the person and the person taking the picture. How time keeps going. So you have something immobile, such as the Daibutsu Kamakura, which is pretty photogenic in itself. And these three are just from completely random different sections. It's always there. I mean, I have a picture when I first saw it in 1998. If I go back, I take a picture of it. To see that, here we go again. Sorry, it's so fast. Come on, man. Look at this. This is just a lot of great stuff happening right here in this picture. And this is probably the local cameraman had a camera. And, kids weren't growing up with 8,000 pictures a day with the iPhone that mom might drop in the toilet later and not be able to get back. I like this picture a lot for that smile. And again, if you can't feel that connection between that moment and the person with the camera, well, I'm sorry, but it's pretty interesting to have something so kind of pure. I think that's one thing I'm looking at. These are just wonderful photographs. It's probably better I don't talk at all, but these moments, and not just a Kodak moment or an idea of what we think that should look like, although to get that giraffe lined up that way is pretty lucky. And it actually says in the back, the woman's like, I'm so glad I got a good shot of the giraffe. And I don't know. Again, we talk about things outliving us. All these people are probably long passed away. These are pictures from the 30s through the usually 70s I've got. They do outlive us. And then when they're lost out of the albums or the families that they belong to, it has its own kind of like second life as just a pure image. And we can just assume, like, I really want to know more about this guy or maybe her. And that wall of very similar Polaroid, or not Polaroids, shots in the back. A lot of these are from a friend whose show will be coming up soon. He buys them off of Yahoo auctions in Japan. And just, I've found two huge albums. I found this in an album I pulled out of the trash because people throw away things very cleanly. So like you can just find two wrapped up photo albums and take them home. So my friends collected hundreds of albums and thousands of prints, and he just puts them in a box. Some people say, well, why not find the families? You know, I was gifted an album in America of a Japanese soldiers, and even if you could find the person, there's no guarantee that the family would want it. I don't know. It's a difficult issue. This is my friend's exhibition. He had the boxes, prints were 100 yen each, or you could just magnet them up on the wall and help contribute to the exhibition. Those are the boxes there, which I spent hours going through. And these are actual prints that he had matted and framed. And then it takes it into a different context in terms of out of a shoebox or a scan on the internet. You see the actual images kind of framed in an art kind of perspective, which is it elevates them in a different way. And these were negatives he scanned and then had printed out himself. And again, it's about editing. So he's got several, you know, tens of thousands of these snapshots. And you find some that are just, you know, I don't say I'm jealous for taking the picture, but like they're really interesting. And a lot of this interest in found photos has taught me that the greats are great, but like there's lots of really great stuff all over. And you can still find good stuff on Instagram too, but again, you swipe and it's gone forever and you're probably not gonna find it again. I had the wrong hashtag, but there's something here about these, it's almost a desire for evidence that they were here or that this was their child or they bought that sweater. As the photo in the back there is a bunch of girls from the repelling the U.S. Marines in the end of World War II. Those kind of schoolgirl groups they gave bamboo spears to. It's I could write a book on that itself. But overall, I think, man, it's gonna go fast. Thank you. That was way too fast. Not nearly as interesting as it was in my head practicing all day.
John, John, you did great. It was very, very, very interesting.
Oh, that was amazing.
Monotone. I've got hundreds of these, and then it's funny because like you buy snapshots and it's like, cool, I'm going to protect this photo. And then like, oh, I have stacks of boxes of my own stuff that isn't in albums or anything, you know, it's not labeled in the back. So it's this kind of wanting, I don't know, drown is the right term, but wanting to be kind of overwhelmed and accept that part of the photography. So that, I think it goes in with what Brian was saying. So I don't know if people understood, but Brian was like recreating new albums for people who lost everything in the tsunami. So people who lost all their photos at once, because we all have albums at home because we're that age. But for people to start over with those great, and Brian, their photos were so beautiful too, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
But that kind of giving it, and you had reestablished the spark, so to speak, with your endless film supply, which was great.
Oh, John, I have, okay, well, let's officially, I think that went longer than we all expected. Let's officially close the presentation part, and let's go ahead and open the, not just to call it out, the discussion part. I want to go ahead, and if you have questions, please add them in the chat and we'll try to answer them. I don't know if Tomoko, maybe you can help me if there's some questions. But let's have a little discussion about these presentations. That was really an amazing collection of presentations, and I found so many through lines in everything that everybody was doing. It was really interesting how one topic kind of led to the next.
I think we can also agree that 20 seconds is so fast. Like,
yeah, but
6 whatever minutes.
If we had. If I let you go on for
I know,
it would be 2 hours out.
But it's so much better in my head, man. Like just
anyway, it was really great.
No, and you guys are all good.
What is the deal with photographers collecting other people's photographs? Because I do the same thing.
It's strange. It's there because it feels like you're holding something that's got its own, you know, reality, which it kind of does.
It is, yeah.
You know what I think? You had like, I hear somebody told me a long time ago, I was like, oh, I haven't shot anything like inspiring in months except for my kids. And that person said to me like, that's the only photos.
Oh my God.
Oh no. Oh no, there you go. There's an interesting photo right there.
I didn't take a picture.
I should take a picture. Well,
maybe.
Your bottom's living in infamy on YouTube forever. He's crawling out of frame.
Now you're demonetized.
He's a junior Brian. He's a little Brian. That's too funny. Anyway, it's shower time. What can I say? But no, what was I saying? Oh, so he was saying like those are the only photos you're going to care about in 20 years time. And that just really resonated to me. Like I was like, but they're so boring photos, you know, there's just like nothing really that interesting. And you often say, you know, take photos that interest you, that are interesting to you, because then when I see your photos, like I can see, you know, I can learn about you through your photos. I can find out what you're interested in. And that's really what your photos should be. They shouldn't be anything else except what you're interested in. And, but the found photos is interesting because you find interest in them.
Right.
And yet they're not your photos or your memories or your life. So it's a bit of a contradiction, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think it goes into something we're all interested in, which is, they talk about being alive, and I think that's really a point of an artist, to make something about what it is to be alive or what life is about. And what's really interesting, and the more of those you look at, you really see the real set, you know, the wedding picture, and there's a bunch, like there's my wife with my kid and we're in a park, and those are just fantastic pictures because they're so clear. And the person with the camera they just want to get that a certain clarity in. And what's cool is that obviously some of the lenses and emulsions and whatever back then weren't designed to be that, which is even cooler. So even the the focus, which is not anything to do with typography, when that is off or what it's focused on is different, I think is really, it kind of puts a connection through everything. I don't know, kind of out of it at the moment, but what do you think, Jesse?
Yeah.
Pass it to him. No, one thing though, you talk about people, you talk about photographing kids and stuff, which is great. I have a wall of cat Polaroids, really, which that could be a book. But one thing Jesse's done is he's photographed his friends as well, which is what, Brian, you've done. But the way Jesse does it, he does it like by obscuring faces, and they're just the most mind-blowing, cool portraits.
Well, wait, you do this photo interviews. You interview people with photos.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Can you explain that? That's very interesting. I haven't seen one in a while, but explain to us what that is.
It's just I think when you do photo interviews, like people talk about, you know, like when they were kids, and then what, you know, and it kind of gets into a lot of other things. And I just like the idea of, why don't you just show us the photos, and based on the photos you show, how you choose them and how you present them will actually give us more. And it gives us a chance to think and actually visually interact with you. And photographers aren't very good with words, you know. So and I'm like, that's why we photograph. But it offers that chance, and that's where that idea came from.
But you ask questions, and then the interviewee answers with a photo, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
So it's like a prompt almost.
Yeah, so and then I try to ask really vague questions as well, like, who are you? And then some people will post a photo of a pig, or some will do a more traditional self-portrait, or some will do a photo that someone else took of them, and some will overpose, and some don't even want to be seen, and you kind of get to see who they are, you know.
Nice. Yeah. It's like their perspective, but on your question. Interesting. Cool.
Right. And then everyone takes something from it. And a lot of times, like, the question would be, what was your favorite moment in childhood? And you may see the image and take away something else. So I don't like the context that is always given to an image that we see. And I like that we apply our own meaning to the image itself, which is refreshing, you know.
Yeah. I had a friend in one of my photo classes. He went to Harvard or Yale later, but we're talking about like interpreting images, and he said, well, describe how an apple tastes. And you probably could, but everyone's apple tastes different in terms of like how they remember apples growing up, or this kind of applesauce or whatever. So, but we all have the same apple. We could split it and have completely different flavors in a sense, you know. So I think that reading of different images is cool.
Right. Because it's just an object, and we're bringing our own subjectivity toward it, and it just kind of, it purely gives that chance.
I think I find that I think you could say this about all your work. I mean, I think Caty's work, the way that, like, you had mentioned to me that the photographs that you might go to a place and you might take 10 images of the same thing because you may turn them into 10 different works of art. Like you may, you don't shoot 10 different images and then each one becomes a different thing. You'll shoot the same thing 10 times so that it comes out. Is that right? Did I catch that right?
Yeah, I mean,
You said you.
Yeah, I work with
like you keep
I
an
can work with
inventory,
the same image,
an inventory like that. That's the way I got. That was anyway. And then once you make one, there isn't like you can't. It's not reproducible. You know, like a negative, right? So it's done. So there's this preciousness of it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, going to photojournalism school and then pursuing that career for just a minute, I did have that technical background. And actually, Brian, you and I were talking about this, that artist photographers are not as like drawn to the equipment, but I was like an equipment kid. I mean, I grew up in like a software company family, like that's like our vibe. And I like had to turn that off. And the only way I could turn off that technical kind of like needed to be perfect, needed to catch that exact moment, was to try these emulsions and like find solace in that imperfection and the wabi sabi of the, you know, movement of those. So yeah, I guess the other part of that is that I was really needing a human element in a photo. That was like a big part of like, I am really drawn to portraiture and I love shooting portraiture. And when I went to Mongolia, like a lot of my favorite photos are that. But like pushing the envelope on the landscape part of it, I don't know. It was just kind of what I wanted to try with that process in particular. So yes, I would shoot a lot of landscapes when I didn't love landscapes, which was weird and maybe backwards, but yeah.
Well, I think what I was getting at was that like, I think like you have this preciousness to your work has this ephemeral transient nature to it, where it exists. I mean, like maybe it'll exist as an artwork for a long time, but like once it's made, it's out there and it's non-reproducible. I mean, I don't think John or anybody who's working in film like reproduces a ton of work, but I mean, you know, obviously you could. And the fact that you can, because of you know, like if somebody dies or something like that, is really a wonderful asset of film. But like, but Jesse is also, well, what I was going to say about it is that transient and that sort of like ephemeral nature of your work, and Jesse's work has this like, I always feel like after having seen, like I watched 13 or 12 short films last night of Jesse's. They're all amazing. I got to put these comments. Oh, we were supposed to wind this down, but I noticed that like Jesse's work also has this very subjective and sort of loosely, it has this transience to it that I don't know if I can articulate well, but and John has, I think you would also say that when we saw your last exhibition that had 250 photos or whatever it was, you had to like pick out meaning for yourself. But whenever I hear you talk about photography, you always talk about it in this really matter-of-factly kind of way. And you're like, it's not that mysterious or it's like, it's just go out and make photos. It's not that hard. And I hear you say that over and over again. And I kind of, and you also talk about like how photography is like not so much an art form, although it is. I know you would think it is, and you've been to art school, but I mean, like, I think you think of it, I think we all think of it, like we're all like wondering if photography is art or if it's lifestyle or if it's, you know, maybe different things at different times. But I think, yeah. I don't know where my mind is going, but
it's okay. I think I liked, if we can go back a few steps back to Jesse's films and how they're open-ended, and you can certainly watch them and make your own interpretations or wonder what's going to happen next. But I also think that he's really grounded. There's a second layer, which I don't know much about film. The last movie I watched was the Star Wars one, where like the girl had the yellow lightsaber at the end. I don't know, but like that's the last movie I've seen in like, what, 2 years? But his stuff, he knows what he's talking about with film and like how it references and evolves back. And I like doing that in photography. Like there's certain pictures I'll put in, like, I'm like, do you know what this means? And it's not like I know what this means, but there are certain echoes back to things that you can find and enjoy too, which, you know, maybe can happen in life too. I don't know.
Right, an homage or an extra layer, you know.
Right. The stuff can reference, you know. I think that's really interesting. That means the more that you look at something and at a certain, I don't mean something as like particular things, but a movement or kind of genre.
Well, and I really like that Jesse's got all these like layers to his. Well, I mean, you comparing the jazz on vinyl, the crackle, to like that tactile feeling. Just like love that it's like audio with visual, you know, like you're like, so obviously you have film aspects, you have the Ekbana thing. I mean, it's like you find that connection point and it's like really exciting. I don't know, to that. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. And to me, it really is all relative in a strong way, you know. So.
Yeah.
There's a few questions from our webinar attendees. Let me fire them off. There might be more here in the chat, but let me fire. Caty, anonymous attendee, asks, I'm curious to know which university in London Caty worked at. That would be my dream job, she says, or he says.
Oh, yeah. So I went. It was like a side gig, cash in hand job. So I wouldn't say it was like a real job. I couldn't get my visa like perfect. So I was at Whitechapel. So I was at Whitechapel helping a photo professor there, just with some stuff, and
Nice. And for John, Wilfredo Raguro. Do we know Wilfredo? For John, he asks, will the found photographs be made into a sequence and a book? Also, follow-up, is there any ethical concern using found photographs? Good question. Thank you.
I'd say as a book, that would be great. Again, me personally, like I'm notoriously not interested in doing that by myself in terms of anything, even my own work. Like I usually have to wait till someone's like, hey, let's do this. And here's how you go do it. And then I say, cool. But that's just something, because I like shooting more than anything. But there are good found photo books. I've got the Art of the American Snapshot, which is fantastic. There's a bunch. I've got a few on my shelves. If you look up found photos, there's a lot of good Instagram accounts too that can get you going. In terms of ethical things, I don't think so. Everyone's dead and we don't know who they are, which is a really cold thing to say. But at the same time, like there's not money, there's not like the fat stacks of cash to be made with found photographs. I don't know. I think it's different, like in Vivian Maier, where we know who she is and who her family is, who are still alive, and that kind of thing is a very different realm. But in terms of found photographs, I don't know. I mean, I guess it would be up to people who look at the book in the store, and then, which I'm not going to make, and then see if they want to pay money, which I wouldn't get. So, if there was a way to, if there's a way to make money off a book on found photos, that's my best answer.
Say that last again. You cut out, John. I didn't hear it.
Okay, I said if there was a way to make money
off
of found photos, I would use that money to buy more found photos.
That's a good call.
I don't know. So if that helps, I don't know.
I have found film. I inherited some found film, and I think the only thing that I can do with it is to find more film with it, or encourage more film. Not find more film, but like distribute more film. There's a couple other questions here. Hold the answer to this one. There's who's your favorite movie director? Do you see some kind of influence from them in your photos? But while you think about that for a second, I just want to go through the chat here and say we've got people from Tokyo, Denver, Taipei, Singapore. Thank you guys for tuning in. The recorded session will be on YouTube. We've got Artur in the house, says, I saw Kurtzmo said that somewhere. Argentina, but living in Madrid here. Northern how do I say this one? Mindanao, Philippines. We did Photohoku in the Philippines. I wonder if that's one of our Philippine friends. We did Photosias in Cebu. So hello, Philippines. There's our home pages. Thailand. There's Bruce down in wherever Bruce is, down in Izu or somewhere like that. Kanagawa. Caty. Caty, love how you've moved beyond photography's flat two-dimensional frame and created one-of-a-kind unique artwork. Lots of thank yous. Jesse, you did fine, they say. Thank you, Jesse, for talking about the memoir, memories and emotions beyond just the visual and graphic aspect of photos. Jesse, how has Ikebana influenced your photographs? So take that one for me, Jesse. How has Ikebana influenced your photography?
Definitely in the structuring. When you learn Ikebana, especially in Japan, like I know it has branched out and it's changed a bit, but in Japan, you get an old teacher and they drill into you the basic structuring, which is called Shin, Soe, Hikai, and Jushi. And it's basically 3 lines and supporting lines, and each one is measured to an exact degree, and it's about the space in between. And you got to do that for 4 years before you can even start to freestyle and express yourself. And it's so drilled into your head that with photography, I can almost overlay a Shinsoe structure in the majority of my pictures. So it's definitely influenced that, and it's more, they emphasize negative space just as much as positive, and I kind of do the same in my pictures as well. And that also does relate to the question about your favorite movie director, which would be Ozu, which Ozu Yasujiro is my favorite director. And it was the same thing. I got into him through literature from Kawabata and his ideas of Mono no Aware. And it's about this transience, and then he always had these structuring pillow shots, and the way he structured the film is very similar to Ikebana as well, which it all, to me, it does relate a lot, you know.
Nice. John, favorite movie director? Caty?
He did the Star Wars ones.
George Lucas?
The good ones. I don't know. I
know. I feel too intimidated to say anybody in front of Jesse.
But Jesse's cool like that. He won't judge you. Like, I like Yasujiro Ozu. I've only seen 2 or 3 of his movies, but I know most about him through Donald Ricci's writings on him. A lot of that writing on Japanese film I found translates into Japanese photography. So thank you, Jesse, for getting me tuned onto him that way too.
I'm such a documentary kid. I don't know.
Caty, what's your who?
I don't know. I'm not a big film.
Okay.
I really wish I was more.
Okay.
But
I was saying Jim Jarmusch's Broken Flowers has this scene at the end of it where the movie ends, and there's a moment, and the movie ends, and it's like the climax of the movie, and like boom, it goes and I stood up and I was like, that's the greatest movie I've ever seen. I was telling Jesse the other day how I thought that was like the most excellent ending, and how it reminded me of your film Stuck. So Jesse, add your links to your I think I have it here. I do have them here. I do have them right here. Here's some extra stuff for everybody. I'm gonna say Jim Jarmusch just because he sounds cool, and like I think Jesse's not gonna judge me too bad for Jim Jarmusch. But
Jesse doesn't judge. That's the thing.
We're joking about that Broken Flowers thing the other day. Hold on, somebody, where's the chat?
There's one last question to John.
Hold on, I want to just go through here real quick. There's lots of questions. Sorry we didn't get to everybody. How do you think you get kids into tactile photography? How do we get kids into like off the phones and like in the cameras?
Off the phone, get them off the phone. I think Caty has the answer. Polaroids.
I got my kids have Checkies, but they don't use them that much.
You know, in college we used to go to a school, my art school. We would go to a school and take pinhole cameras and make them make their own pinhole cameras, so they were like invested in it.
That's fun.
And it was a lot of fun. And then we had a show at the end. And I think at one point we got kind of tired of that, and we passed around disposable cameras, which I've been recently carrying around a disposable camera for quarantine, and it's been a blast. So I would also say like that ease of use is pretty fun. And then like seeing like my friend's kid like took my camera and was like, wait, what is this? And it's like a little 10-year-old doesn't know like film. So it was, I don't know, there's like some ways I feel like with, I don't know, more invested versions and like chiller versions. So is that?
Yeah, good. I love it. Make your own cameras, kids. Apollo, we got to make your own camera, pal. Here's a question for John. John, I think this question, it says in your book, I think I'm not going to, sorry, Matthias. I think John has talked about this a lot, and we're kind of like, John, there's a question for you about, I think, your way of the lens. What's it called?
Zuisha?
Zuisha, yeah. And but you've talked about it so much. John's just been interviewed by Lomo, by Bellingham Bags, by who's the other one, John? The recent one, the self-made man one. That one's a good one.
That was people approach, and like I've kind of changed my opinion a lot on like stuff.
It's great.
Like, I'll participate in stuff because I can learn more about.
Oh, the one to check out is John's interview with Blake. Blake Andrews. There's a long interview that talks about
that guy's whole blog is
awesome. Please Google that one, Matthias, just because we're running out of time. Sorry about that.
Sorry. Or you can DM me on Instagram. I'll get back to
you. Okay, guys. I think that about wraps it up. Yeah, we good? I think we did it. I think that was fun. Yeah? We still have 38 people on. I think we only lost 2. Cool. That's pretty good. Yeah. And I saw some over on YouTube also. We got comments. Regards from Colombia. Oh, Dar es Salaam from East Africa. All right. Thank you. Everybody, I think, had a great time. This was a great conversation. I know it was a little tricky getting through the presentations, but I think it was a great foundation to have this wonderful conversation with you guys. And I just cannot thank you enough that you, especially of all the photo homies, there's so many great ones that I have, and I can't wait to call the next crew. But I hope that we can continue these. I hope you guys will tune in. I hope you guys will support this, and I hope this is just the first of many more of these. And I hope you guys will come back and present again. Anybody have any final comments? No? Sayonara?
The fastest 6 minutes of your life. That's the fifth time I've done this.
It's like a heart pounding.
You have no idea. It's like, it's next. It's fast. Okay.
Well,
it's fine. It's a good system. I think it's a great way to do this kind of thing.
I lost 10 seconds, it's like, you never get those back. And it's just,
yeah, man.
It's all good. Well, we have to do it again. That's all.
Thanks for pulling it together, Brian. This was awesome. Brian. It was so nice
man, I'm so happy. And I'm so, it took quite a lot to get work. This has been planning. We've been planning this for months. So
here we have,
so I really, really thanks again. I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do a group shot. Let's do like a little. I'm gonna do a screenshot. Hey, what's up, homies? Nice. Hold on, Jesse. One more. 3, 2. Oh, that one's not good. Here we go. Whoops. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right. Nice. Thank you guys so much. I'm gonna just sign off here with a few more screens. Mark made these for us. What's your passion? What's your love? What's your geek? Let's session it with you, he says. Live live and direct to the world. Get in touch with us. If you want to host your own session, you can. You can host it on record collection, on music, on books, on architecture, on whatever you care about. This is a smaller focus group. We've gone on a little bit long here. Sorry about that. But the idea here is to distill down the experience. See you at the next session. We've got Alvin's going to do one on mechanical keyboards, and he's going to get the mechanical keyboard. Don's got one on Sotheby toys, maybe in the works. Niels has got one on toy trains. So there's stuff in the works, and I hope that those will all work out. Thank you to all our webinar people who came on and asked questions. We really appreciate you being here. Thanks to everybody who tuned in on YouTube. Thanks to the PechaKucha Global community and everybody who's always supporting and working so hard to cultivate creativity in your community. And keep making photos, tactile photos, yeah? Tactile. Yeah. Okay, so long. See you guys.
Thanks.
See you.